All right. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday evening Minchat Chinuch Shir at Kong Svarta Flatbush at 1575 Coney Island Avenue. And as always, I want to thank the very worthy organization, TorahAnytime.com, for recording these shiurim and making them available with audio and video to those who cannot participate. It's an interactive shir. It's wonderful for those who can come, but it's also wonderful that they make it possible for those who cannot. I want to dedicate the schus of tonight's Limud HaTorah to the Refuah Shleima, the two Gedolei Yisrael whose health is not good. Rav Yashiv, Refuah Shleima for Yosef Shalom ben Chaim Musha, and also Rav Belsky had surgery today, a ruptured esophagus. Yisrael ben Chana Tziril. Okay, so some of you who've been coming regularly, we try to get some achlaikas rishonim. We try to get a weekly dose of lamdas, chakiras, svaras. But everyone knows I'm a sucker for a hashkafidik thing also. Tonight it's actually a pretty nice dovetail. We're not going to dwell on it the whole class, but let me put a question out to you. And this is again, there's like just such a fundamental yisaidus thing that the chinuch says, and unlike the last time, the Minchat Chinuch jumps on him for it. So let's just talk a little bit. Let me hear your opinions on this before we read what the Chinuch has to say about this. We all know that there's a rule of ein einshin elim ken mashirin. Throughout Shas, the Gemara is always looking for various psukim in the Torah. You need two makairis. In order for something to be punishable, there's got to be one pasuk that says the einish, and another pasuk that says don't do it. Hishamer, pan, al, there are other ways to. Right? We've all come across Gemara to say einish shamanu azar minayin. Okay. Any theories on why that's so? Why isn't just enough write a pasuk of an einish? Okay. I think implicit come out explicit in every einish is don't do it. If you do this, you will die. Okay. Does that sound to you like the Rabbi Shalom wants you to do it? If you do it, you will get kares. Yeah. Okay, good. You know, the garden variety generic lavin, for which the default einish is malchus, so the azhar is the einish. That's how I know that you get malchus for it. It's a lav, it's not an asay, it's not a bittul asay. Right? But for anything beyond malchus, what do I need a separate pasuk saying don't do it? Theories? Menachem? Any ideas? I never thought about it either till I saw this chinuch. But what he says is going to shock you. Any ideas? Why should we know? Why do I need to, Torah normally respects our intelligence. We're always making diyukim, the Torah is nidrish b'heinu b'lav, m'chlal hayin atashmei lav, m'tchalav atashmei hayin. I think it's pretty, I don't know the right term, inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. If the Torah says, if you do this, you will get kares, okay. Obviously, Hashem is telling me not to do it. No? Why do I need a separate pasuk saying don't do it? Any ideas?
Telling you nicely the first time.
What? Telling you nicely. Okay, but the Torah is very stingy with its words. Like gufei halachas. I learned out of a kutzah shel yud. I learned out of a misplaced letter. A whole separate pasuk to tell me not to do it. No ideas. Stop to think for a minute. I don't know if I could come out. I know what the chinuch is going to say, so I'm telegraphing a bunch. Okay, so the mitzvah that we're doing tonight is mitzvah samach tes ayin. It's a little bit of an overlap. It's actually two mitzvahs that are learned out of one pasuk. There's a pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim that says Elohim, Elokim, Leisakala. Okay, pronounce it without the kuf because it's chal. It's not kaidish. It's referring to a judge. Okay? You pronounce it with the kuf. It's referring to whom we always call Elikim. So you learn that two lavim from here. Okay, that there's a separate lav above and beyond the generic lav. Yeah. V'cheirish leisakalo. That's the makar that we know that you can't curse anyone in Klai. So it's like a kal v'chayim. If a cheirish who can't even hear the curse, you're not allowed to be makal, so you can't be makal anyway. But there are special people that they're extra lavim. If it's a dayan, a musmach, true musmach. If it's your parents, if it's a nasi, right? The maximum the Rambam works out, if the person was a dayan and a nasi and he's your father, then it's four asharas. If you curse such a person, you are on 4 lavin, right? So there's a generic law, but then there's also this thing, Elohim Loisakal, which refers to a temporal human judge. It also refers to Chalila cursing the Eibishter, also known as a Megadif, also known as Birchas Hashem. We say it's Lashon Sagino, we want to say the opposite of Klala, we call it Birchas Hashem. Parenthetically, Birchas Hashem, besides being one of the Tayyag mitzvahs for Jews, is also one of the Design mitzvahs B'nai Nayach. Okay, so, just economy of paper. I'm just going to read you the first couple of lines and then I'll hand it out. Shalom Kala Dayan, Lav de Birchas Hashem. It's unusual. He groups them together. Mitzvah Samach Tes Dash Ayin. Shalom Kala Dayanim, we should not curse the judges. Shenem Elohim Le'Sakal Perushay LeDayanim. Kama Asher Yashin Elohim. Asher Yashin Elohim doesn't mean that God will find guilty. It means that the judges on the court will find guilty. So we see that the word Elohim is used to mean Dayanim Musmachim on a Sanhedrin. V'haitzian. Okay, at this point, I can pass out the handout. Here you go. Do one. Okay. So I'm reading from the top of the column. Whoops, sorry. One more hand back. And if there are any light comments, Menachem, you'll give them, okay? A few more. Okay. The reason why the Torah refers to it, could have said Shaiftim, it could have said Dayanim, why does it say Elohim? Torah was trying to talk about economy of words. Torah was trying to pack into this one lav, 2 lavim, the Hainu, V'ulav the Birchas Hashem Yisbarach. Chalila cursing the Eibishter himself. Mashamru Zichron Levracha b'Mechilta v'Sefri Azhar l'Birchas Hashem Nechsiv Elohim Le'Sakal. The Azhara, okay, you know where this is leading, all right? I gave you a sneak preview. The Azhara, the pasuk in the Torah that says don't do it, is this pasuk, okay? Umashakasav b'Makam Acher, what's written elsewhere in the Torah, Vayikru Chavdal Tazayin, v'Naikiv Shem Hashem Mais Yumas, somebody who explicates derogatorily, that's what the word Naikiv means. The Shem Hashem will surely die. Zera Einish. Aval Azhari Mekan. Okay, the person should ask me, remember, the main function of these are the Mainei HaMitzvahs, the Sefer Chinuch, the Sefer Mitzvah, Rambam, Smak, the Smak. These are Sfarim that are vekgestellt to quantify 613 mitzvahs, and they're klolim, what to count, and so on and so forth. So maybe you'll ask me, what do you mean? There's already a pasuk in the Torah that says, if you curse Hashem, you'll die. So, no. That's the Einish pasuk, but I need it as our pasuk too. It's never enough just to have a pasuk that says the Einish. This is what we find in Asach Gemaras. There'll be one pasuk that tells me the Einish. What about the Azhar? Okay, this is the shtickle chinuch that intrigued me tremendously. V'hinyan hu mipnei she'im loy savay lana b'davar minias hakel. If we don't have a pasuk that is the withholding kaviyachol Hashem, that Hashem is commanding us to withhold our ma'ases from doing this, El Shemer Oisadar applying the Yanish Bekach. If all the Torah said is, if you do X, you'll be punished by Y. Hayeb mashma she reshus biad kol haretz l'kabel einish v'lo yachush l'tzarei laver la mitzvah. Unbelievable. You couldn't make the simple deduction that if Hashem says if you do this, you're going to get karas. If you do this, you're going to get chenek. That's not enough to get across the message that Hashem doesn't want you to do it. No, what would I think? What yesh l'balden lachlik? A person would say, you know what? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Bella Abzug used to say, ladies, if you can't take the heat, get back into the kitchen. Right? If you could take the heat, there's no problem. Okay? It's a sliding scale. Okay? An investment counselor will ask you, what is your risk tolerance? An anesthesiologist will ask you, what is your pain threshold? If I have a higher pain threshold than Yenim, If I can take Malkus, I can eat Chazer. I mean, it's not a good example because that's a law of greater. It doesn't need a separate pasuk for Einish. But that kind of an idea. If I can handle Karas, right? This Rasham doesn't mind the etzem if I eat Chaylev. If you want to avoid Karas, don't eat Chaylev. You can deal with Karas, eat Chaylev. It's Geheta Maisa. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable what he says over here. Yeah? I mean, the theology of it. I mean, we would have to, if this were true, I think we would have to reorganize our whole concept. There's a Chafetz Chesed. I'm a divine, I'm a heavenly sadist, How much pain can you tolerate? That's all, I don't mind inflicting pain. It's not pshat, that we understand that Einshim are to be ma'ariras, Mida Keneged Mida, what we have to do tshuva for, or it's mamarik tov and it purifies the soul. That way, Pshat, you want me to hit you? You like being hit? That's my ratzon. It's not hepech my ratzon. I don't have any problem hitting you. If you can take it, I'll be glad to hit you. I mean, I think it's revolutionary. Besides, just logically, how do you understand that in the psukim? But what he's saying, Kaviyachal, in terms of theology, is a hafla de chiddush. Okay, but anyway, but listen to this. This is unbelievable, and this is really the reason I want to learn it. And because, as one clever person said, in recent years, Klal Yisrael has gone from being an Am Segula to an Am Segulais. Jeder is Zicht Askille, right? Everybody's horse trading with God, I'll give my chayrat l'mashke, the business should be matzliach. I'll do this, the IRS will stop the audit. I'll do this, my daughter will find a shidduch. It's all what's in it for me, Judaism. It's all about horse trading. Okay, that's a mitzvah. That's doing it possible. But listen to what he's going to say this now in the next two lines. It's unbelievable. El shiyamer oisa davar plani yanish bekach hay b'mashma she reshus biyad kol ha'roitza l'kabel einish v'lo yochush l'tzarei lav ola mitzvah. Anyone who's ready to take the einish and doesn't care about the tsar, he has reshus to be over a mitzvah. I mean, the whole terminology, semantics is all wrong. It's not called being over on a mitzvah. He's saying that's not intrinsically hepech ratzon Hashem. Okay? You want the pain? I don't have any problem with you be'etzem doing the ma'isa. Yeah? This wouldn't be connected Hashem's will or His commandment. The Yachzar Dvar HaMitzvah would be, if all we had was Einshim, without us Haras in the Torah. So what would mitzvahs become? Kein Mekach u'Memkar. It's all business, nothing personal. It's all business. It's all horse trading. Can you afford it? Go ahead and do it. There were other religions, The history of religion, Protestantism grew out in no small part because the Catholic Church in medieval time had something called indulgences. If you were a rich man, you paid the galach X amount of money and not a kicked from whatever you did. Right? He was empowered to confer, to grant atonement if you paid enough money for it. Yeah. So here I'm not paying with money. Here the currency is my pain. If I'm willing to pay with pain, if I'm willing from my neshama should be seivel karas, or my body should be seivel and his person, it's fine. Go ahead, do it. That's the admission fee. Okay? You want to be Machal Shabbos? You enjoy being Machal Shabbos? Go ahead. It's a very expensive, it's a Club Med vacation. It's a very, very expensive thing. Right? So if I'm willing to make that trade-off with God, it's okay. Klemer, Haraitz allows there were plenty yiten kach v'kach v'yaseyu. You want to do what we consider today taboo, usher, forbidden, you may not. It's hepech ratzon Hashem. No, you can do it. Just pay up. That's all. If you can afford the admission fee, you can afford this. You can have this form of entertainment, so to speak. Okay, I underlined it for my own emphasis. I was so nisbal for it, but let's finish the end of the paragraph, and then we'll start with the Minchat Chinuch. That's not. All of this is a false theology. It's a false theory of mitzvahs. This is not how Yiddishkeit operates. Okay, I mean, before we go weiter, again, I think the takeaway lesson for us, if you needed anything more than the third Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, it says, "Al tiyu kavadim hamsham shel tzarav al manas l'kal pras, kavadim hamsham shel shalom manas l'kal pras." I think it's a big limud for those of us who are heavily into the schools and, so to speak, the horse trading, always with the Eibishter. אין הכוונה על המצווה בכך, אלא שהקל לטובתנו מנענו בדברים. It's for our own good. He is a chafetz chesed. Yeah? If it's bad, it's because it's bad for you. The Eibishter understands the structure of our neshamas, and certain things can't be interacted with, and certain behaviors are bad for our neshamas. Remember, that's why he asked them. Now he's a capricious, divine legislator. He's putting out rules, and you offended my ego. That's why I'm going to punish you. You did something against my. His ratzon is a chafetz chesed. All of these things that he asked on us, he asked on us because they're bad for us, right? It's hypocrite. We shouldn't hurt ourselves. Yeah? Not if you're willing to hurt yourself. Okay, I'll go along with it. El shekel tevesem ananam b'dvarim v'yem miktzas and haynu shamagiel on miyad noval havaras b'tzaynei she kosher menakol. Forget the ikar thing is the pasuk of the Ashara. You don't need more than that. It's havaras b'tzaynei. That should be enough. Yeah, it's not sure as if I can get away with it, then it becomes legal. No, the Baruch Shalom tell you not to do it. It's hypocrite, you can't do it, right? But to encourage us, so to speak, to motivate us, he was megala einshim of some of the averos. That's taich all over Shas, wherever it says, and einshim limken hizer is to get across this richtige hashkafa of what the Eibishter is, of what mitzvahs are. Okay, Kleimer. Lo yadia hakel ha'enu shabalen al avras ha'mitzvah elim ken hadiyan tchila she'utzayna hu shaloi nasa es hadavar. Implicit is not enough. The fact that you're going to die, you're going to get courage for this, would not be enough. Take it across the message. The Eibishter doesn't want us to do it. Maybe. Yeah, the weaklings, he doesn't want to do it. The tough guys, the macho men, go ahead. You can tolerate the einish, you can take the whipping, or in this case the courage, do it. Okay, fine. So, again, there's one line from that's not in your handout, but I'll read it. The Minchat Chinuch asks on this from a Gemara in Sanhedrin Nun Vav. Let me just get the Gemara. I'll read it to you from the Gemara. Okay. The very top, the right-hand column at the top, but before the underlined part. The Amrin Sham, it says over there in the Gemara Sanhedrin, V'naikev Shem, Hashem Alikecha, right? The pasuk that the Chinuch brings, that's the pasuk of the Einish. And then the Gemara says over there, Melikim Leisakal. This time I have to read it with a kuf, because we're talking about Birchas Hashem. Right? So we saw that in the Chinuch, that this lav is Kailul both cursing a judge and Chalil cursing the Eibishter. So those are the two psukim. The pasuk of V'naikev Shem Hashem Mais Yumas, that's the pasuk of Einish. The Azhara is our pasuk. V'amrina, the Gemara over there says, Dil Mepusha Shmei D'chsiv Hashem Nakvu B'Shemus. Maybe the pasuk of V'naikev Shem Hashem is just to say that if you say out the shame of Hashem explicitly without cursing him, right? We're not talking about Birchas Hashem altogether. We're bringing a dogma elsewhere in the Torah where the Nesiim of the Shvatim were called Ha'anashim Hashem Nakvu B'Shemus. Doesn't mean anybody cursed them. It means it was explicated. It was set out clear who they are. Right? Their identity was said clearly. Yeah. The Azhara say, and Mamela the Azhara, if that is the activity that we're talking about, not Birchas Hashem, right? Just saying Hashem's name, what we would call being Mitzvah Hashem Shemayim Levatala. Saying Hashem's name not in the context of Kriyas HaTorah, not in the context of davening, not in the context of making a bracha. Yeah, just stop saying Hashem's name. That's what it means. V'naikev Shem Ma'is Yumas. V'azarasai as Hashem L'kechatira. A whole different Azhara, because it's not the activity of cursing; it's the activity of trifling with Hashem, of esteeming Him lightly, of kaviyach, of taking the Eibishter lightly. Yeah. So then the proper Azhara is the pasuk of as Hashem L'kechatira. This is a a total lack of Yiras Shamayim, that you could just drop Hashem's name in a non-limud HaTorah, a non-ritual setting, that's a stira to Yiras Hashem. Umataritz, the Gemara says over there, no, that can't be the Mahalach. The pasuk can't mean Stam being Mitzvah Hashem Shemayim V'Tala, and the Azhara can't be from Es Hashem L'Kechatira. It's got to mean Birchas Hashem, and the Azhara is from Elokim L'Sakala. Why? Umataritz, Azhara Esa L'Shma Azhara. A Mitzvah Asay can never be an Azhara. Fragt the Minchat Chinuch, the same Shakav Torah repeats itself in Tamur. The Ika Divrei Rav Mechaber, he gives such a beautiful explanation to what the Avera, not the Avera, what the Mahalach of Ein Shalom Ken Masirin is all about, right? That unless we have a pasuk that makes it clear that this activity is not Ratzon Hashem, just from the Einish I couldn't deduce it, right? But if that's the function of the pasuk of the Azhara, yeah, the Ikad of Rav Mechaber, what's underlined, Lama Azhara Sesel Shma Azhara. What kind of a vart is that? He's not. Look, I was stumped. Everyone in the shir was stumped. I asked everybody. Anyone have a theory? Rebecca just came in. Maybe you have a theory. Chazal all over the place. Gemaras we've seen. Tzen l'chamal. Ein Shalom came Asirin. Ein Shaman was harsh. Do you have any kind of a svara in what that rule is all about? Why do we always need two psukim? A pasuk that says don't do it, and another pasuk that says if you do it, you'll get X, Y, Z. Why is that necessary? Why is it enough to just have the pasuk that says what the einish is, and I'll figure it out. I'm not supposed to do it. You have any svaras on that? Any ideas on that? We learned something in the Minchat Chinuch that he's asking a kasha. In the Chinuch, that the Minchat Chinuch is asking a kasha on that. Okay, think about it for a minute. I'll come back. Let me just finish reading his kasha inside.
I have the same thing by Eidim also.
That what? That hasra. Yeah. That the Eidim have to give hasra. You think it's the same svara? Let's bat this around a little bit. Okay, he's showing too that the need for two psukim is like the need in the judicial process, that without hasra, you can't be manish. You can't be manish Eidim.
That's a simple reason.
Yeah, the hainu.
The person will say, "I didn't know it was asra."
Okay, that's a machlokes. It's a machlokes in Gemara. If le'nitten, there's a mandam that says chaver and it's arach hasra. Talmud Chacham doesn't need. Shle'nitten hasra will have ben shaygig l'meizin. In this case, shaygig in this context, shaygig would be an aimer mutter, would be ignorance of the law, not ignorance of what they're doing.
Says if you do it, right, you get misa. Then of course we know you're not allowed to do it. It's not sushna.
I hear what he's saying. I mean, they're different functions. Certainly, according to the Mandamer, the Chavra and Tzarech Hasra is about making sure that you're not dealing with a shaykhur, not dealing with a guy who's doing it by accident. What does it have to do with the actual impermissibility, the forbiddenness of the activity? If the Torah said if you do this, you're going to get chorus, or you're going to die, so obviously, you're not allowed to do it. You have no rishus to do it. Huh? Yeah, there's Mandam and Asra that you have to quote the pasuk. Yeah, obviously there is another shita that a Talmud Chacham also needs Asra. So what's talking the function of Asra over there? Ignorant of the law, he isn't. Maybe he's ignorant of the facts. Maybe he forgot that today is Shabbos. Maybe he forgot that this malacha is also on Shabbos. What? But I'm still not hearing the correlation. Okay, there is a chiyuv on Bezdin or on Eidim. I don't know how to tie it, to be magdarit exactly. Before you can actually give an einish to somebody, he has to receive a warning. Okay, what does that have to do with the pasuk in the Torah that tells us not to do something? Okay, at any rate, you came a little late. You can see the underlined part in the Sefer Chinuch. He gives a svara, but the Minchat Chinuch is asking on that svara that according to this svara of the Chinuch, l'chayot should make absolutely no difference whatsoever if it's an asay or if it's a lois asay, as long as there's a pasuk that clearly communicates that this is not the Ratzon Hashem. That Hashem wants you not to do this thing. If the Torah spoke it out through an asay, spoken out through a lois asay, should make no difference. Well, that's an eyes and a kasha. The Ikadiv Rav Mechaber. Lama Asar Says Loish Ma'asara. Kiven Atar Manam is Mali Beloshan Lav, a Beloshan Asay. Kiven the Adanu Shen Ratzon Hashem is Baruch Bazah. It's clear that the Eibishter doesn't want this thing done. Besides the fact that you're going to get a clap if you do it. I Marcus, you give him base. Alkain, Tam Zet Sarachin. Okay, so he doesn't offer a teretz, he blies by a tzarachin. Okay. Let's skip down in Ois Beis, the second Dibra Maschal V'hinei, the part that's underlined. You see there's a sidebar that says Malchus. Okay. V'hinei Dasa Rambam Rav Mechaber Kan. The Ben B'Shem B'Shem Nemchakim Ben B'Kinuyim Im Kil B'Hem Chayav Malchus. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Yeah, this is something that most of us, the average layman, myself included, is only familiar with this from Hataras Nadarim and Erev Hashanah, yeah. Shem Havai Baruch Hu, Shem Nemchakim. Okay. Basically, there are a lot of names, Kaviyach for Hashem. Basically, the way it comes through the Sugis and Shas and through the Paiskim, basically three madregas, shall we call them. Okay. There are Shemais that are Shemais Bas Dalad Isis, Yud Kei Vav Kei and Aleph Dalad Nun Yud. Any Yud Kei Vav Kei that's printed on the page outside of the Beis HaMikdash, we pronounce it Aleph Dalad Nun Yud. Okay. Then there's another level called Shem Shein and Nemchakim. Shem Shein and Nemchakim basically is any name Kaviyach for Hashem that when we pronounce it in a non-bracha, non-kriyas HaTorah setting, we insert the letter kuf, so as not to actually pronounce it. Elokim, Kael, Shakai, okay? Those are not shemus of Dalad Ka, yeah? Those are not shemus of Dalad Isis, but they're called Shem Shein and Nemchakim. And then there are other things sometimes referred to as kinuyim. We're going to see the different Rishonim have had different terminology for these various madregas. Then there's shemus like Rachum, V'chanun. That's Yud. They're good working descriptive words of God. Yeah, the English word God or Gott in Yiddish could also be perhaps kinuyin. Those are called kinuyin. All right. So, what's the lav? And again, he's going to be toggling back and forth over because he started with two mitzvahs, Samach Tas and Ayin. They're both nichlal in these words of the Torah. Elohim le'sekalel means a dain. Elokim le'sekalel means tzt'zl for Birchas Hashem for the Eibishter line. So it's not always going to be clear if the Gedarim that he's saying over here are referring to when you're cursing a human being or when you're cursing Kaviyach the Eibishter. But let's first go with you're cursing a dayan. What kind of if you just what we would consider a curse? You walk out of a Bez the Mechuyev, you just lost $100,000 in a court case. I'm talking about a Bezdin case, and you've been shown the dayan shall nuchta haisen an einikel. It's like a cute Yiddish way of saying you should die. Yeah? At least among Ashkenazic, but they didn't. That wouldn't work among Sephardim. They name after living people. So shall nuchta haisen an einikel, right? That's not this love. Clever, profane, okay? Anything that's considered a klala has to, on some level, involve calling down divine wrath. The Eibishter should do something to you. Okay? The Eibishter should hit you, the Eibishter should strike you dead, the Eibishter should knock all your teeth, but you've got to be invoking that Hashem is going to do something bad to this person. Okay? That's the taich of a klala. Now, what kind of a Shem Hashem do you have to invoke? So here is Machlokes Rishonim. V'hinei dasa Rav Mechaber Kan. The Ben Shem Shein Nemchakim, Ben B'Kinuyim, whether you're talking about names like Kael and Shakai, or Kinuyim, Chanun, Rachum, Merachapayim, things like that, in Kil B'Hem Chayav Malchus. Okay? If you tell a guy, the Erechapayim, with you we should have a short fuse. Okay? That would be something you would get Malchus for. What? Oh, very good. Maybe we're going to get to it. I have that on Daf Shin Yud Beis. We'll see. If time allows, we're going to get to that. Let's go Ksarda. Okay. V'arayv kan b'asagis kasav, Amar Avram en aloika, elo b'shem ha-miyuchad, v'achi yisi b'Yerushalmi. He brings the Yerushalmi to Ravid, who says that's not true. You need the Shem ha-miyuchad. Again, the Shem ha-miyuchad in this context means either Aleph Dal Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei. It could be another Isser in actually enunciating Yud Kei Vav Kei outside of the Hazara, right? Zesh Shmi La'alim. We have a drasha. It's the Kri is Zesh Shmi La'alim, but it's written without a chaylim, so it can be pronounced Zesh Shmi La'alim. So from there we learn out, like Hashem Shani Nichta Vani Nikra, that whenever you see Yud Kei Vav Kei on the printed page or on the Klaf of a Torah, you have to pronounce it Aleph Dal Nun Yud. But that's what he means with the Shem HaMiyuchad. So he brings the Yerushalmi. Okay, so you can get out of it easy. You could say, fine, it's a Machlekes Bavli and Yerushalmi, and the Rambam V'siyasai, they're going like the Bavli. Okay, skip down to the bottom, the Bramaskal on the right hand column. Achosh l'may l'Rambam kan V'siyasai, the Mechai V'avil HaKenuyim, Kagan Chanun, Hamavu l'Hedya B'tmur Gimel Amar Aleph. The Mekal Havalei Lav Shem by Maisa. Let's stop and pause here for a minute. B'chlal, it's a shver zach to understand. Cursing is punishable by Malchus. Cursing is punishable by, like this we say, any chet b'dibur is called Lav Shem by Maisa. Dibur is chaylik Shem Latzma. It's its own halacha category. Okay, speech is not deed. Yeah, we always say, when we're doing tshuva, we want to do tshuva for machshava, dibur, and Maisa. It's three different madregas, right? And dibur is always called a Lav Shem by Maisa. So it's a Lav Shem by Maisa. How do you get Malchus for it? Okay. The Mekal Havoi Lav Shem by Maisa. Mekal Chaver b'Shem Leiken. Mufafel b'Shasha Menolan. T'chsiv. In Lois Ishmael, Liros Hashem. You know what? I'm going to read. He's truncating it. Let me read a little bit from the Gemara inside, so you get the whole. I didn't photocopy the Gemaras, but at least you get the sound of the Shaklataya right.
What's the Einish here? Is this the Einish Misa here?
No, the Einish Misa is for Birchas Hashem.
Right.
Yeah, the Einish for cursing a Dayan is at most Malchus. Yeah, you good with that? You okay with that? Were you here for the Minchas Chinuch that we did on Makal Aviv, on cursing your father? All right. I mean, there should be a kash on that. The fact that it is Hasara, you're learning also Birchas Hashem Magadiv. Right? All right. The catchphrase is Lav Shenit Lazaras Mises Bezdin. Right? So you rule that Lav Shenit Lazaras Mises Bezdin ain't like an Aleph. Obviously, there are machlekes in the various Rishonim. What constitutes a Lav Shenit Lazaras Mises Bezdin? And a digma like this, rather the same phrase at a time, two completely different activities. One is cursing a dayan, and one is cursing the Eibishter line. The Lamaisa, they're covered by the same words in the Torah. It's the same Azhara in the Torah not to do these two activities. Voltaim, it's a Yesh Makal Labaldin Lachlik to say, I don't care if you use a kinu, if you're Naikiv the Shem, if you pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei, the way it's supposed to be pronounced. Bottom line is, when it comes to cursing the Eibishter, this Azhara could result in a Mises Bezdin. So maybe even when you use it to curse a dayan, you shouldn't get Malchus either. Maybe it's a Lav Shenit Lazaras Mises Bezdin. Okay, that's a side issue. Right now we're dealing with another issue for which you shouldn't get Malchus, and that is because it's Lav Shem by Maisa. Okay. Just a minute here. Okay. I'm reviewing Amarav. Okay, I'm going to read in touch a Gemara from Tmura Gimel Amar Aleph that goes on Tom Beis a little bit. I'm reviewing Amarav. Kol Esasa B'Tayra Osa B'Maisa Chayv Losa B'Maisa Pater. Uklol Lav Shem B'Maisa Pater. Frek the Gemara V'Arei Meimer the Lav Shem B'Maisa U'Veloki. Yeah. What's Tmura? Tmura is something you do with Dibur. You say, you walk up to one behemoth You got your behem on your right hand side, you got a behem on your left hand side. The behem on your left hand side is already a carbon. The behem on your right hand side is chulin right now. And you say zeh, tmura zeh. Okay, you point to one, I don't have the tzir 100%, all right, but that's all you're doing. All kachim. When you makdish the first behem, that was also a dibur. It wasn't a maisa. Yeah? So the Gemara is asking, how can you say a klal that lav shem b'maisa ain't like an olive? A dibur is not a maisa. Tmur is a dibur, and you get malchus for tmur. The Tanan, lo shurashai lahamir, el shem heimer mumer v'sevik esarbaim. That's the lashon of the first Mishnah in Mitzvah Tmur is hakol memirin. Everyone can be member. It sounds like you're allowed to be member. So it's clarified. Lo shurashai doesn't mean that you're allowed to do it. If you do it, it's effective. The Tmur works, and both behemoths are kaddish. V'sevik esarbaim, you get malchus for it. So it's a lav shem b'maisa, and you get malchus. Why do you say it's not a lav shem b'maisa?
Because by definition, the maisa is a dibur.
So what did the makshan of the Gemara think? A maisa is not a dibur. Excuse me, a dibur is not a maisa. A dibur is its own category. You got malchus for saying lashon hara. Maybe you should get malchus for saying lashon hara, but you don't. Okay. Right. And the Gemara Mata is about Shvu Shav also. Makes a difference if it's L'Sha'avar. Makes a difference if what's the Aver. If a guy says Shvu Shaloi Eichel, and then he eats something to break a Shvu, okay, so he's getting Malchus for the Ma'aseh Achila, not for the Dibur of the Shvu. I mean, you're on target. Let's read a little bit more. If I'm not mistaken, I was going to bring it in a second. Amar Charav, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda, Dama Lav Shem B'Ma'aseh Loiken Olav. Okay, it's another mandam. It's a machlekes. Rabbi Yehuda holds you do get malchus for lav shem b'maisa. Umiyam arts muknis l'mastis Rabbi Yehuda. How can you say it's Rabbi Yehuda? Well, came to Rosh like Rabbi Yehuda. Don't I call me Mir? I call it so. You might also Yairish like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds a Yairish can't be man. So I Rabbi Yehuda be the Tana of the first Mishnah tomorrow. And for the Gemara, high Tana savala kavasa b'chada. The lav shem b'maisa like an olive. Upalaga b'chada dilu Rabbi Yehuda sav Yairish ain't a saimach. Yerush and a Meimer, the Tani don't say Yerush Taimach Yerush Meimer. He holds of Rabbi Yehuda in one department, he's not going straight through Rabbi Yehuda L'Shitase. He's picking one from column A and one from column B, so to speak. Omer Ravidi Barav and Omer Rav Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yechim Mishra Rabbi Yitzchak Lili Kolos Asher B'Tayra Osba Maisa Loikal Osba Maisa Potter Chutz Menishba. Yeah? It's not that it's not a Lav Shem B'Maisa, it's a Lav Shem B'Maisa, but it's an exception to the rule. For this you do get malchus, umeimer, make natmura, umakaro chavera b'shem. Because another yid, and again this is just another gradation. Because a yid, it's one lav. Because a dayan, 2 lavim. A dayan who's also a nazi, 3 lavim. A dayan who's a nazi who's your father, 4 lavim. All right, but the point is, you curse somebody else b'shem, al b'shloyas amaisa chayiv. Okay, so I'm going to skip a little Gemara over here because it's talking in the sugya of Shvuah. Okay, so now taka why by Makalel? Yeah, why is this an exception to the rule? It's a lav shem by Maisa. Why are you getting malchus for it? Zok the Gemara. This is already on Gimel and base towards the bottom. Manalan. Rebbe Lezer, Rebbe Shia, Kra. In Loish Sishmar Uksiv V'Ifla Hashem Es Makasecha. Yeah, the Eibishter will be mafli your makas. Aflazu any of them out. Kashuana V'Yipilu Hashem V'Yikol Lefanav Hem Aflazu malchus. Hipiloi Afla. I don't know why you need that. The pasuk says V'Ifla Hashem Es Makasecha. I guess without the tushtel from the Pilu HaShayfa, they would say, okay, that's general teichach things. That means that makas means makas m'shamayim. Doesn't mean malchus the Bezdin gives. From here we see though that means makas the Bezdin gives. Emer afilu shvuas emes. Maybe that's nothing to do with klala. Maybe that's nothing to do with shvuas shav or shvuas sheker. Okay. In Loi Sishma, you weren't Shaimer on Kedusha Hashem properly. You were Mitzvah Hashem Shemayim. Anytime you Mitzvah Hashem Shemayim, you should get makas. Behed yiksiv shvuas Hashem tiyeh ben shneim. You see that there are purposes for which you can have a shvua. There's a mitzvah say that when Bezin requires a shvua, you should be nishba with the Shem Hashem. But things like shvua say, there's other kinds of shvuas. If it's not a shvua l'kayim is a mitzvah, and a chlam, you should get malchus for it. Haksiv kurachrini. Another pasuk tells me, no, you see that there's a separate mitzvah to be for judicial purposes. Shua Seidus and other things, the shua of Balei Din, like shua might have mixes, shua against an Eid Echad. There are times when you have to be nishba Shem Hashem. So what is this pasuk coming if it's not coming? We already have a pasuk for shua, sheker, and shav. That was the previous sugya. If this is not coming to us, a blanket thing, even on a shvua that's not shav, what is this pasuk? What's this imlois ishma? What's this all about? Pasuk is coming to tell me that you get makis. This imlois ishma is makalas chaver b'shem. Okay, we're going to see in a minute. The Minchat Chinuch learns it's subsumed. It's part of it. Okay, just saying out. If I and I held talk, I walk into a room. I'm not davening. I'm not saying kaddish, kedusha, dosh, kedusha. I'm not lighting kriyas Torah, and I just say out the Shem Hashem. I say Hashem Adnus. I don't say Hashem. I say Ado. Yeah. I might say Hashem Shemal Vatala. And when I curse someone, when I say Ado should kill you, should give you anamachla, that's not Vatala. Dal Mahaka, the last half of your sentence. Don't say the bad wishes that you have upon your chaver. Obviously, it's not for a bracha, it's not for davening, it's not for lining, it's not for the dugmayis of uvishmaisi shaveh. It's none of those, it's none of the above. So in every kilas chaverei, or fill in the blank, kilas dayan, kilas nasi, kilas aveim, is nichlo amayt Shem Shemayim Vatal. Right? So, maybe it has nothing to do with shvua and nothing to do with klal. Maybe this pasuk is only going on a mighty Shem Shemayim. Sagt mir, mi go makalas chaver b'shem, mighty Shem Shemayim v'atol. Anan hachik kashlan. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking something else. Ema, I should say. Mighty Shem Shemayim v'atol tizgilei b'malchus. Maybe mighty Shem Shemayim v'atol. It's not as bad as this is a vain, an empty use of Hashem's name. It's an abuse of Hashem's name. Hashem is the Kel Chavetz Chesed and using it for klala, right? So for Mighty Shem Shalom V'Atala, even though it's a lav Shem B'Maisa, but that's what I should use the pasuk of the Hifla Hashem Makisacha for to tell me this is an exception to the rule, and you do get malchus. But Al Makal Chaver B'Shem Kivin Tekavet Tarti the Kamapik Shem Shalom V'Atala Kamitzal El Chaver. Yeah, it's a Ben Ol Chaver, it's a Ben Ol Malkan. Maybe you need something more severe than malchus. Look, the same svara that we see a lot of times. It says that for a lav sheish b'karas b'mezid you can't bring a chatas, right? You did it b'mezid. A chatas isn't enough. That's not good enough kapar. Lo matzah zamrit, you can't say such a thing. D'chsiv lo yisachal cherish. V'yamrit b'shleim alakal eschavera azaras emahacha. D'chsiv lo yisachal cherish. If you're going to say that the Hifla Hashem Magasach is going on klala, not on Mighty Shem Shalom Vatala, then I know that's hara. Aliyah Ma'amrit Mighty Shem Shalom Vatala Rasa Mehecha. If the pasuk is going on Mighty Shem Shalom Vatala, where's das hara? Whatever. That's as much of the sugi as we have to see. Let's go back to the Minchat Chinuch right now. Okay, again, the right hand column on the bottom. Achoshli Moed Laram Kanvasi Yosed. The Mechayel Afil Akinuyim. Chanem. Hamavul had to be tomorrow Gimel Amud Aleph. The Makal will have a lav Shem B'Maisa, and we call Makal Chaver B'Shem Loikin. It's not that the lumdus is that the Dibra is Maisa. There's such a Lashon Chazal and something else. Akim Atzvas of Avi Maisa. But that's not the strategy. That's not what that Shaglataya. That's not how they're attacking it. To say that the movement of the lips becomes a Maisa. That's not what's going on here. It's a lav shem b'maisa. There's a pasuk. There's a kosev v'hifla shamos makesecha that's going on the imloy sishmar, which we say refers to makal, that we know that you get malchus for it. You get malchus for it. Umafalfa b'shasham and the whole nechsiv imloy sishmar liyiras Hashem v'hifla smakesecha hainu malchus given the mighty Shem Shemal v'atala umafalfa del makai mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. Maybe it's only going on a mighty Shem Shemayim v'atala. Umaskinan the gam makal having mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. So we say Enochanami. Basically, the thing that's wrong with a makal is that he was a mighty Hashem Shemal v'atala. We have a pasuk for an asara. So we've got the Einish pasuk, v'hifla Hashem makesecha. For Mekalel, we have our pasuk here in Parshas Mishpatim, which is the Ashara pasuk. You don't have that by Stam mighty Hashem Shemal v'atala. Alke mabir malchus Mekalel. That's how we know that a Mekalel gets malchus. Okay, Adkan the Sugya. What's his kasha on the Rambam from the Sugya? Again, so the Machlokes Rambam and the Ravid is like this. The Rambam says you get malchus for all the kinuyim. Makal, somebody should say the Chanan should smite you. The Echapayim should lose his patience with you. You get malchus for that too. The Ravid says no, it's got to be the four letter names. Al kopar mabir mikra the Moiseshmar, mitam the mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. The bottom line is the ribui of malchus from Makalo is that it's a chsaron in Yirah Shamayim. It's a mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. Yeah. Upashit the shemus anuchakim lo shayich mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. Kagon chanav v'rachim. What would happen if a guy just says chanav v'rachim, not in the middle of slichus? He did anything wrong? That's a mighty Shem Shemal v'atala. That's a chsaron in Yirah Shamayim. There are gradations. You don't say Aleph Dal Nun Yud. You don't say Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yeah. You don't even say the other Shem is Kodesh, Shem is Shein and M'chakim, Elikim, Shakai. That's why you didn't stick in that kuf that you're not really enunciating those names. You need a b'derech limud. You know to mention it. You learn a Rashi Shamal Elamedai. You want to say what has to appear on the outside of mezuzah. Zakman Shakai. Yeah. When you're learning, then you mavata the dalet. Yeah. But a shame hanimchak, a shame that you're allowed to erase, like Chanun and Rachum, that's called in Loisishmor. That's called a lack of Yerushalayim. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Hifla Hashem makesecha. So forget about the Yerushalmi. Look at the Bavli. If the Makar, remember we have a challenge over it. We got to overcome the fact that Klala is a lav shem b'maisa. Why is a lav shem b'maisa like an olive tzedek b'maisa? Because there's a pasuk Hifla Hashem makesecha that refers ba'akifin. Really, the context of the pasuk means Shem Shemayim v'atala. No vas. There's no mefurish atzhara for being mighty Shem Shemayim v'atala. Every klala is also a mighty Shem Shemayim v'atala. But which Shem Shemayim are we referring to? What's l'vatala? It can't be the Shem is Hanim Chakim. So he doesn't understand the Rambam. That's his kasha on the Rambam. Im ken b'vada en echayiv malchus. V'chein ha'loshen b'shas makal chaver b'shem. Yeah, it doesn't say Mechal's Chavere. It says Mechal's Chavere B'Shem. We stam Shem, and Mechal's Shem is Hanim Chakim. We don't mean to be including names like Chan V'Rachim and Erech HaPayim. V'heichichal anachlu Chayiv Malchus, in Loi Mikosav Hazeh, the Mavur, the Umachmes, Mighty Shem, Shemayim L'Vatala. How can we be Chayiv a guy Malchus for a lav Shem B'Maisa if you're not getting it out of this pasuk? Show me another Makar and Shas. This is it. This Sugi and Tamur is the only way that I know that a Makal should get Malchus. Okay. All right.
Somebody's Makal of somebody with Shem Hashem. Does he get now two Malchus? Does he get Malchus from Makal?
No, because there's no Azhara. There's no Mefurish Azhara for being Mitzvah Shem Shemayim v'atala. That was the end of the sugya. We have a pasuk that says Loisakal Cherish and all the other psukim Nasibam Chalaisar. Elihim leisakalo, makalo avima. We have azhara psukim for all the various iterations of klala. We don't have a mefurish azhara, not the stam drop the Eibishter's name. There's no such pasuk in the Torah. So that's why the Gemara says, okay, so you have to move this limud of L'Hifla Hashem Es Malkesecha, which teaches me Malkus for a lav she'en b'maiser. For this particular, in other words, there's a klal and a prat. There's a klal, Mitzvah Shem Shalom Vatala would be, anytime it's not a bracha, anytime it's not kriyas hatayra, anytime it's not a davar shebekdusha. That when I say a bracha, I mean a bracha tzricha. Yeah, that's a Mitzvah Shem Shalom Vatala. In that klal is a prat called klolos. Klolos b'shem, yeah, is a particular abuse of a bittul of the proper use of the Shem Hashem, right? But it's only on that prat that we have an azhara for. That's how I know that you get malchus, right? So his point is, but and the prat al mashal b'chlal. It says in Leisishma, Tira, all these things that sound like you're trifling with Eibish's name. We're allowed to say anything that can be nimchak. We're allowed to say in a casual way too. We can say chanun without saying kanun. Yeah. Say erech, the kerel not, but erech kapayim we don't say kerech kapayim. Yeah. So how can you get malchus for cursing a guy and saying the erech kapayim should lose patience with you? If that's not the Mitzvah Shem Shemal V'Torah that we're talking about, so how can you get malchus for it? Okay, Rabbi want to know about writing, so let's see some of that also. Now he's real, like I said, he's toggling back and forth over here between being Makal a judge and being Makal Shem Hashem. Turn over the page, Shin Yud Beis, the upper right hand corner, the nearly. Okay, he had said over here that besides the lavin that we're discussing over here, there's also an asay for being mighty Hashem Shemayim L'Vatala. Nearly, Kashem Shemaitzi V'Fiv L'Vatala Eva B'Asa, Kach B'Meichik V'Aisa Mechika B'Shem HaKadosh, Chutz Ma'Shamar Al Leisasa, the Leisasim, okay, there's psukim like this in the Torah. What's the whole business of Shemus? Shemus L'Gniza, right? It's not so far before Pesach that we can start thinking about the ubiquitous Shemus trucks all over the neighborhood, right? Things pile up a whole year in your house. The kids bring home homework sheets. So you ask a competent Pesach if all of these things are really Tom Gniza or not. But old Tehillim get tattered. It's time to give them the proper kavur. Yeah. We don't burn them. We don't throw them into water. That the ink should lift off the paper. You're not Meichik Shemus Hashem. That's all. Yeah. How do we know that? Because there are mitzvahs esses in the Torah to destroy Avodah Zarah. Yeah. As Asherein to Gadayun, as Psila Elohim Tisrafum Be'esh, Lo Yisasim Kein L'Hashem L'Kecha. Yeah. All of the forms of destruction and mechika, there are a mitzvah klapi Avodah Zarah. Yeah, there's a generic love on that. Lo Yisasim Kein L'Hashem L'Kecha. You don't do that to Hashem. So in other words, if I would be Meich, if I take an eraser and I'd be Meichik Hashem, or if I take a cloth like they do by Megillah Saita and stick it in the water and lift off the Shem Hashem that way, or B'chlal, improper treatment of Hashem Hashem, that's the Azhar of Lo Yisasim Kein L'Hashem L'Kecha. He's saying that besides the love of Lo Yisasim Kein L'Hashem L'Kecha, if you're Meichik Hashem, you over an assay also. Chutz ma'shavar Lo Yisasim v'gaimer, k'mu v'shas maketz chav bez amav v'ram perek vav b'sar Torah halach alav v'loiken alav zeh oid over ala esa anal. You're also over on the esa that the Minchat Chinuch worked out. Mali shemendar b'fiv oisha oisa begufel shel Shem HaKadosh. What difference does it make if I was mighty Hashem Shemayim V'Vatala verbally, or he's telling too, he's saying destroying the Shem Shemayim, yeah, is like being mighty Hashem Shemayim L'Vatala. Right? Abuse of the Shem Hashem. Verbal abuse is using it in a non-ritual context. Yeah? Physical abuse would be erasing it. That's the idea, the lack of Yir Shemayim that it hears in this Azhar. Okay, so just to wrap it up, we just have a minute or two before Marv. We're going to have a minute for Marv. Maybe we can get one more person from the street. We should have a minute from Marv. But at any rate, just briefly, the headlines to recapitulate very quickly. We learned an unbelievable chinuch, a chiddush, and a chinuch. The chinuch says the aside that this, it says all over Shas, ein einshin alim kein mashirin, is because I would think if all I needed to give an einish, to meet out an einish, was the pasuk that says the einish, I would think that einshim, the fact that the Torah says that you're going to be punished for something, does not necessarily accrue or equate to the idea that this is hapachratz on Hashem. Could be Hashem says, if you can take the pain, go ahead. I don't have any problem. You want to eat a ham sandwich, eat a ham sandwich, but you're going to suffer for it. Not that I have anything bad against the ham sandwich. You're able to tolerate karas? Go ahead, eat chaylev. Doesn't bother me. You're going to be the one to take karas. Now that I have azharas for all these things, I have separate psukim that say not to do them. Now I know that that's not the relationship between einshim, so to speak, and the Eibishter. It's not pshat. I made up arbitrary rules. You defied me. You're getting an einish. I told you not to do this because it's bad for you, and I don't want to see you suffer. That's the chicken and egg relationship. How he explains it. The Mechasim had a kasha on it. That's one thing. Another thing that we learned was a machlokes rishonim. The Rambam holds that this love of Elohim Le'Sakal that's going on a dayan is even with Shemus HaNimchakim, words like Chanun and Racham and Erechapayim and so on. If you curse somebody using those names, that's also love, and you'd get malchus for such a love. And the Ravid holds, no, it's got to be the actual proper Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, or Aleph Dal Nun Yud. Okay.